In this week's video, I show you how to make glazing beads and sill sections on the thickness planer. Last week, I made this mock-up showing how to make moistened tenons with long and short shoulders that's applicable to window frames or door frames. This week, I'm going to make a really quick video showing you how this would be finished into a window frame to include a sill section and glazing bead. I'm going to show you two different glazing beads. I'm going to show you how to make beads for single glazing and beads for double glazing. So first of all, I'm just going to clean this up to an acceptable level and then we'll add the accessories. So first we sand it with a 60 grit. Then after the mould's applied, we sand it with 120 grit. Just one little thing I'd like to discuss just before we move on. I've made this sample out of 2x3 timber. Usually window section is actually 2.5x3. So obviously in this sample it's actually quite a slender section. Traditionally, depending on how you fit these windows, some modern houses like the one I'm in now, window frames fit from the outside of the building with a sill projecting over the brickwork. Some older style properties actually fit from the inside of the building in stone reveals where traditionally a sliding sash window would be. I said a few weeks ago in one of my videos, I'm from a part of the world called West Yorkshire, specifically a town called Bradford, and it's a part of the world where Brontes come from. So if anybody kind of can envisage what the sort of Bronte parsonage looks like, it's a traditional stone building with sliding sash windows. In them kind of buildings, the window frames would be inserted from inside the building. Now when you do that, you end up with quite a large rebate in the masonry work from the inside to put the window in. Sort of a new replacement window with slender of a section to replace the traditional sliding sash windows. Not that they would allow to do that in the Bronte parsonage. There's a few reasons why I cut the rebates out on the saw last week before I cleaned them up on the router. First of all, it just saves a load of shavings that are no good to anybody unless you've got a horse, and also it actually gives you some usable timber. Now traditionally when I've made these kind of windows, you've got two options. You either use a really big deep section, maybe a 4x3 section to build it out, or we've actually in the past planted these lats on the back to actually build the section out. Now I know that sounds a little bit shiddy shoddy, but bear in mind UPVC windows traditionally now have a little track on the back and then they have makeup pieces that just slide in to actually do the exact same thing, which is quite important because obviously if you've got opening casement windows, if it's too narrow then it actually collides with the masonry work around the window. One other tip I can give you when you're fitting windows into such large mason reveals is to keep the horn on the window, this section here, because actually you can then utilize this. You can cut this to length of the reveal, just drive a wedge in against the edge of the reveal just to hold it there. Sometimes when you've got such a large reveal, very difficult to actually get a fix through. You have to sort of screw timber grounds to the inside of the reveal and then fix through the framing. So the horn in that situation is really useful. The other reason I cut these out is it gives me free glazing beads. For double glazed units, I can now repurpose this offcut to make a double glazed bead. I can't make a single glazed bead from it, it's too narrow, so I have to cut a piece of timber. The method of making them on the thickness planer is exactly the same. These are about 1 1/8 wide. So when I'm cutting the blade, I need to ensure that I set the blade width at least the height of the rebate. So I'm going to cut them out like that. The beads and the sills are formed on my thickness planer with the chamfer and bevel jigs I made a few months ago. There's a link to that video here. So to groove the sill, I'm swapping my thin kerf blade for my grooving blade. Oh yes. just mark the depth of the sill on the window frame, and then allow typically around about a 3/8 of an inch or 10mm groove into the window. Now normally I would put the groove in the sill section of the window frame before I put the window together, but because I've used this previously as a sample, I can't do that. And it's just a matter of fitting the sill into the groove by just reducing the thickness of the tongue with my block plane. I then cut in a groove in the leading edge of the sill. This is to stop the water tracking underneath the sill and form a drip mould. Cut, so I put a 45-degree mitre on the end of the beads, and for double glazing systems we have got a bead there. For single glaze systems we have a bead like that, just to use this piece of melamine. I know it's not the thickness of a double glaze unit, but for single glaze system we have got a beaded system like that. For a double glaze system we have beads fitted like that, because these would be putty pointed or sealed in and then tacked in with panel pins. A little overview of making windows and making glazing beads on the thickness planer. I hope you enjoyed that. Thought that was useful. Please give me a thumbs up, and if you would like to subscribe to my channel, then the subscribe button is down there also. And until next week, bye.